Back to school. Many mid-Missouri students are starting a new academic year this week. The final three. Today, the community got to meet the candidates wanting to become Columbia's next fire chief. Plus, a special session. Governor Mike Parson is calling state lawmakers to pass an income tax cut, how it could mean more money in your pocket. This is KOMU 8 News at 10.
Coverage you can count on. KOMU 8 News starts now.
Well, after the summer break, it's time to go back to class. Today, 6th and 9th graders in Columbia got to spend some time at their new schools. Rockbridge High School's principal shared this video on Twitter. It's a whole lot of excited students, and I like to see my alma mater there. Good evening, everyone. I'm Emily Spain. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. More than 18,000 Columbia Public School students, with the exception of kindergartners, will return to the classroom tomorrow. The superintendent for CPS, Brian Yearwood, is expecting a growth in enrollment for this year, and the district will welcome students in some new buildings. That includes Rockbridge Elementary School. CPS is also celebrating its 150th anniversary. Hallsville students return to classes tomorrow. The district starts a 4-day school week this year. The school board approved the shortened school week in February. Classes will take place Tuesday through Friday. North Callaway and Harrisburg school districts also have 4-day school weeks. In Jefferson City this year, the school district is putting an emphasis on safety. The Jefferson City Police Department had an increased presence in school zones as students return today. The goal is to enforce school zone speed limits, child restraint violations, school bus stop sign violations, and other hazardous moving violations. While this is a back-to-school event, a lieutenant for JCPD says safety is year-round.
It's a situation where we get to a point where we're complacent in that people don't pay attention to those flashing signs. We just want to make sure that they understand that now is the time.
As for safety inside the schools, the lieutenant says there are resource officers that have a rotation within the schools to help as needed. Well, in Mexico, the Missouri Military Academy's cadets started their day at 6 a.m. A military academy isn't a typical student experience, but as KOMU 8's Matt McCabe shows us, its administrators share many of the same struggles as public schools.
The back-to-school routine has a special rhythm. Missouri Military Academy cadet Gorka Yarte is stepping into his senior year.
It's good to be back, my last year, so I want it to be a good year.
The economy has cast some doubt on educational forecasts in every part of the country.
The challenges that we face this year are no different from the other public schools and private schools.
School President Richard Geraci says staffing shortages and heavy costs beat loud, public or private.
And we've lost some families because of the economic situation. We do have provisions to provide financial aid, but many of our families have not been able to return. I would tell you right now, 11 of our families have not been able to return because of the economic conditions and the challenges that they're facing.
But Geraci says new enrollment has made up for it. Student cadets say they haven't felt a difference in their military-style experience.
Here it's very strict and you have to follow by the rules, but it's good because it teaches you stuff that sometimes in public schools they wouldn't teach you.
I think we're coming out of COVID, but again, a lot of the challenges now are economic.
But cadets promise routine is what drills their school year forward. In Mexico, Matt McCabe, KOMU 8 News.
The school's president says it has more applicants who will join in the coming weeks. He says it's not unusual for more to apply as the school year continues. Matt.
And as a lot of folks are getting ready to go back to school, we are looking at fairly quiet conditions through the week. Temperature's not going to change a whole lot. In fact, our 24-hour temperature change from this time yesterday, it's 0. We're exactly where we were. Temperatures right now are in those lower 70s. We'll be in the 60s for the majority of the night. And by tomorrow morning, I do expect some patchy fog to develop. Morning temperatures in the lower 60s for us. And if you're outside a little bit more with the nicer weather we've seen and the more seasonal temperatures we've seen over the last few weeks, you might be sneezing a little bit. Weeds in the the moderate category today, mold in the high category. Those pollen levels going to continue to increase over the next several days due to the weed pollen and the mold. So start taking that allergy medication. Tracking our next rain chance coming up.
Okay, thanks, Matt. The Columbia Fire Department has gone nearly 6 months without a fire chief, but today the media and the public got to meet the 3 finalists who are up for that position. KMUW8's Ethan Becker is at Fire Station 8 with more information on the candidates. Ethan.
Thank you, Emily. 2 weeks ago, the city of Columbia cut down its candidate list from 29 applicants to 3 finalists. The final 3 for the fire department's highest position are Brian Dunn, Christopher Riley, and current Assistant Fire Chief Clayton Farr Jr. The meeting was held at Columbia City Hall for all 3 to speak to the community. The finalists will replace former Fire Chief Andy Woody, who announced that he was leaving back in January. Here's what all 3 candidates had to say about what they liked about the fire department or what they wanted to change.
The city's growing, there's things going on, there's stations being built. So the opportunities that you get to do as a fire chief doing those things don't come along every day either.
There needs to be a focus on firefighter recruitment, retention, diversifying the department, the building of 2 new fire stations.
I want to change our training division and change our opportunities that we have for our staff to train and to provide training for other agencies around our area as well.
The Columbia City Council has not yet announced when they will select a new chief, but you can learn more about the candidates on our website at KMU.com. Reporting live from Columbia, Ethan Becker, KMU8 News.
Now to the state capitol, where legislators will soon be talking tax cuts. Governor Mike Parson today called for a special session to start in 2 weeks. Parson proposed a tax plan that would reduce the top income tax rates from 5.3% to 4.8%. It would eliminate the bottom tax bracket, and it would increase the standard deduction for individuals by $2,000 and $4,000 for married joint filers. Parson says his proposed tax plan is historic.
Every tax-paying Missourian, no matter their background, income, or job description, will see a reduction in their tax liability.
Missouri House Republican leaders say they're ready for a special session, but some others are hesitant. House Minority Leader Crystal Quaid said in a statement today that Parsons' plan, quote, temporarily budget surplus as a cover for permanent revenue loss that will put Missouri government back into the financial hole it just climbed out of, end quote. Parsons' plan also calls for an extension of agricultural tax credit programs. Those who are advocating for change at the Missouri Child Protective Services system held a rally at the Capitol this afternoon. They hoped to raise awareness about what they say are the system's failures. One way representatives from several organizations say would improve the system is more staffing. They say the Children's Division of the Department of Social Services is struggling to maintain adequate staffing levels for foster care case management. One speaker at the rally says she believes it's not the employees, but the system that's to blame for these shortcomings.
From one end of Missouri to the other end of Missouri, we have the same systemic issue, and all over the United States, because it's the system. It isn't the people, it's the system.
She says she hopes to hold another rally at the Capitol in a few months. An anti-drug group announced support for a lawsuit to take the legalized recreational marijuana proposal off Missouri's November ballot. A Jefferson City resident filed that suit on Friday with support from the national anti-drug group Protect Our Kids. The suit alleges supporters didn't gather enough valid signatures to put the question on the ballot. But earlier this month, the Secretary of State announced the petition did earn enough signatures. The suit also claims the proposal deals with too many policies violating the state constitution. We have an update for you tonight in that deadly shooting of Columbia resident Chavez Wagi. The shooting happened on Saturday in the parking lot of Mosier's on North Keene Street. Police have arrested and charged 22-year-olds Loyal Martell and Joshua Dudley. We received new court documents today that show Joshua Dudley admitting to driving to Columbia with Martell to rob Wagi. Dudley also told police that Martell was the one who shot the victim. This afternoon, both Dudley and Martell attended a hearing at Boone County Court via video call. Both men are currently being held on no bond. The case against MU Fiji members for a hazing incident continued today. You may remember Danny Santulli, who was the victim of a hazing incident last fall that left him unable to see, walk, and talk. Today, Thomas Schultz had a pretrial hearing at the Boone County Courthouse. He's one of 11 former MU Fiji fraternity members charged with a count of felony hazing in this incident. At that hearing today, Schultz's defense team proposed a protection order under FERPA for Schultz's academic records. Judge Jeff Harris granted approval for this and will sign it in the next day or two when that order is filed. Schultz's team also proposed jury selection be extended 30 days. However, Judge Harris only granted them a 15-day extension. The next court hearing is scheduled for September 26th. Coming up, multiple communities across the country dealing with the aftermath of flooding. Plus, former President Trump made his first legal move since the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago.
And we are watching temperatures that are going to be pretty close to average over the coming days. We'll add some numbers to this, plus we'll put the Dallas flooding in context coming up.
Welcome back. 3 Arkansas law enforcement officers have been taken off duty after a video of a violent arrest went viral. We do want to warn you this video might be hard to watch, and here is that video now. It shows deputies punching and kicking a man in the head and body repeatedly during a Sunday morning arrest, at one point slamming his head into the ground several times. A bystander captured the moments of the arrest. One officer who is not shown in the video says that police dashboard cam shows more than this video itself.
The dash cam does bring to light other things that did happen there, that initiated, that wasn't caught on the citizens' camera.
Arkansas State Police have custody of the dash cam video, and they have now opened an investigation into use of force by all 3 officers. The FBI is also investigating. The sheriff's office says deputies weren't wearing body cameras during that incident. In other national news tonight, former President Trump's legal team wants a third-party attorney to oversee the review of evidence from his Mar-a-Lago home. This is known as a special master, and they would determine if any of the documents should ultimately be returned. Trump's team is asking a federal judge to pause the criminal investigation until a review is done. This is the first legal move by Trump's team since FBI agents carried out the August 8th search. Meanwhile, today the New York Times reported an initial batch of documents the National Archives retrieved from Trump in January included more than 150 files marked as classified. Dr. Anthony Fauci says he will be stepping down in December. Fauci has served as the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases for 38 years. He has also worked as the chief medical advisor for President Biden. Fauci says he's not retiring, but rather moving on. He plans to take what he has learned during his long career in public health to inspire and mentor a new generation of scientists. After months of a severe drought, heavy rain caused major flash flooding in the Dallas metro area. That rain started Sunday night and ran through early this morning. It's the second highest amount of rain recorded in a 24-hour period for the Dallas area. Some areas received more than 8 inches of rain. Evacuations were ordered in the Arizona town of Duncan after heavy rains caused the river there to overflow its banks. The Duncan Valley Rural Fire District started mass evacuations this morning. Trees, power line poles, and even some structures were submerged by those rising waters. And Matt, that is a lot of water.
A lot of water, definitely. Looking at our back-to-school forecast for tomorrow, Columbia Public Schools, Moberly, Hallsville, Tipton, Boonville, all back in class tomorrow, along with Osage County as well. Of course, there are some other schools on the list too, so that's just a sampling. 64, the temperature tomorrow morning at that morning bus stop. Going to prepare for some patchy fog. I don't think it's going to be a major issue for you. And temperatures warm quickly. 78 by 11 a.m., by 3 o'clock, we're at 85 degrees. Another very warm afternoon for us here in central Missouri. We started today with a little bit of patchy fog. We'll start tomorrow with some patchy fog too. I don't expect significant issues as you're headed out the door, just a little bit of this fog to get you going as we head into the afternoon hours. All of that clears up and we see that sunshine poking through. The sunshine going to be a big factor through the day. High pressure responsible for the fog development because we're seeing the calm winds associated with the high. It's also keeping those skies clear. The main action, as we've been talking about, down across parts of Texas, now moving into Louisiana, this stalled frontal boundary has produced a lot of rainfall across parts of the south. Look at the radar estimated rainfall totals here. Anywhere from 5 to 8, 9 inches of rain in some locations. But I want to zoom into Dallas and put this into perspective. Earlier this summer, Dallas-Fort Worth at the airport went 67 days without any rainfall. A significant drought developed, and then they went to the next extreme, which was flash flooding. With climate change, we are seeing more extremes more often, particularly when it comes to this flash flooding. Dallas-Fort Worth Airport picked up 9.19 inches of rain over the last 24 hours. That rainfall, as Emily mentioned, is the second most in a 24-hour period ever recorded at the airport. And to just add some perspective to this, the Columbia Regional Airport has picked up 7.71 inches of rain since June 1st, since the beginning of the meteorological summer. So they saw more rain today in a 24-hour period in Dallas-Fort Worth than Columbia has seen all summer. So just an astronomical amount of rainfall in those areas. That rainfall threat going to be shifting east into Louisiana and Mississippi over the next couple of days. Flash flooding threats going to continue. Some locations could see 4 to 7 inches of that rainfall. Temperature trend going to remain pretty close to average over the next several days with both the highs and the lows, with those highs in the 80s and those lows in the 60s. In terms of that temperature potential, we are looking at things being pretty quiet across central Missouri, pretty close to average, maybe airing just a tiny bit above that. But what I really want to show you with this is the precipitation potential, above average rainfall potential, definitely going to be with us across parts of Texas. Once again, kind of like St. Louis was in the situation a few weeks ago where they just kept getting hit again and again with big rain events. Not necessarily a repeat by any means, but it won't take much to cause a little flash flooding in the St. Louis area. Additionally, I think we'll get a little bit of rain here in central Missouri by the end of the weekend. 63 for tonight, 86 tomorrow, a lot of sunshine, a very mild day. 88 Wednesday, upper 80s Thursday. We'll see those 80s continue into the weekend with those rain chances Sunday into early next week, Emily.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Coming up, how Columbia is planning on making public transportation more eco-friendly. But first, here are those lottery numbers. Good luck. Last week, the City of Columbia received a federal grant to invest in electric vehicles. The Federal Transit Administration awarded Columbia with a $2.8 million endowment. The money will go toward purchasing new electric buses for the city's public transit system. Columbia currently uses 4 electric buses, but most of its fleet is powered by diesel or compressed natural gas. With this grant, that number is expected to grow. Matt.
Your KC Dermatology Center and Medical Spa SunSense numbers at an 8 for the next 3 days.
Coming up, Albert Pujols and Paul Goldschmidt both had stellar performances for the Redbirds last week, and today they got some recognition for it. We'll explain coming up next.
Now, from the Ford Sports Desk, KOMU 8 Sports.
The accolades just keep stacking up for Mizzou kicker Harrison Mevis. The 8T Top 25 Committee announced its preseason All-American selections today, and the junior kicker made the cut. The second-team preseason All-American hit 23 out of his 25 field goals last season, including a career-best 56-yard kick against Boston College. Mevis was named to the Lou Groza Award watch list for this season and was first-team All-SEC last year. Here's Mevis last week on receiving more and more national recognition.
But, you know, if I'm going to be recognized, I want to be an All-American, but I want to be an All-American for this team. I want to, I want to be there for this team, the team. And it's not just for me. I'm not doing it for me. I'm trying to help my team win on Saturdays, and that's really where my mind's at.
Mizzou football was among 6 schools vying for a commitment from defensive lineman Edric Hill. However, the 4-star recruit chose Alabama over the Tigers tonight. 24/7 Sports ranked Hill as the 7th best 2023 recruit in Missouri and the 27th best defensive lineman in the country. Mizzou women's basketball has officially unveiled this season's non-conference schedule, and here's some of the highlights. The Tigers will open on the road at Missouri State, and their first home game will be against Bradley on November 10th. Over Thanksgiving break, Mizzou will face Wake Forest and Virginia Tech in the Baja Mar Hoops Pink Flamingo Championship. Then they'll host St. Louis on November 30th, before finishing up with 2 games in the Arizona State Classic and 3 home games, including bragging rights on December 18th against Illinois. You can find the full schedule on our website, komu.com. Friday Night Fever is just around the corner, and so is the high school softball season. The Jefferson City Jays hosted a jamboree tonight to get ready for 2022, and there's the Jays pitching staff. They'll open their season in the Union Tournament on Friday. Fatima's Faith Jaggers had a good performance in the jamboree as she drives in a run here. Fatima starts its season on Friday against St. Elizabeth. And Capital City made the trip across town for the jamboree, and it was worth it, as this drive to right field brings a run home. And finally, a triple from Helias freshman Jaylee Howell allows 2 runs to cross the plate. Both Helias and Capital City will play in the Sullivan Tournament on Friday to begin the regular season. Since being traded to the Cardinals back on August 2nd, Jordan Montgomery has been impressive on the mound for the Redbirds. In 3 starts, the lefty has allowed just 1 run and struck out 17 batters. And there he is, back on the bump against the Chicago Cubs tonight, and Montgomery did not disappoint. He went the distance tonight, pitching his first career complete game shutout. He allowed just 1 hit and struck out 7 batters. He even got some help from the defense. Nolan Arenado making this barehanded play look easy. That play ended the 5th, and we would stay scoreless until the top of the 7th. That's when Albert Pujols clobbers home run number 693 over the left field wall. With that homer, Pujols has now homered off 449 different pitchers, tying Barry Bonds' MLB record. The Redbirds win their 8th straight 1-0. And speaking of Albert Pujols, he and Paul Goldschmidt were named National League Co-Players of the Week today. Pujols hit 3 home runs, added 7 RBIs, and had an OPS near 2,000 last week. Goldie was also stellar. He finished last week with 11 RBIs and had a .542 batting average. Drew Waters making his MLB debut for the Royals in today's makeup game against the White Sox. And the KC offense wasted no time scoring today. Already 1-0 in the first when Michael Massey just misses a grand slam but drives in one of the Royals' 4 first-inning runs. Then in the second, Massey gets it done on defense. Check out the diving grab from the Royals second baseman. The Royals hold on to the lead until the 7th when Elvis Andrus smacks an RBI double into left to tie the game at 4. But Waters comes through for KC in the 8th. In his big league debut, Waters draws a bases-loaded walk to reclaim the lead, and KC captures a 6-4 win, a well-deserved Gatorade bath for the rookie. And that's a look at sports.
Welcome back. Temperatures for our Tuesday going to kick off in the lower to middle 60s, a little bit of patchy fog. By the afternoon, we're in the middle 80s, upper 80s on Wednesday and Thursday. As we go into the weekend, the stretch of weather continues. Really, we're looking at a pretty quiet stretch until we get to the end of the weekend and early next week. That's when some rain chances are going to start to move back into the region. Maybe a little bit of cooler air too. Even some thunderstorms by next Monday.
And pretty good weather for all the kiddos and teachers going back to school. I want to wish everyone good luck with the first week back to school, and thanks to all of our teachers and all you do.
And if you haven't seen them yet, we have back to school photos from when we were in school on our Facebook page.
I don't know if you want to see them. We'll see you here tomorrow.